April is all over the place. We losing DMX, but we get a guilty verdict with Chauvin, but then the police still out here shooting? Goodness. Hey, peculiar people. I hope that everyone is doing well. I hope that we're all staying healthy and staying safe during this time. I don't even want to sugarcoat. This month has been a little rough. Between the Derek Chauvin trial, our memories of George Floyd, and everything that's happened since, and it's only been a week, April has been low-key exhausting. So I just want to jump right in and talk about the latest blog post from Peculiar on Purpose. When I first heard about DMX, I didn't want to get on social media and post anything about him because I really didn't want to be inauthentic. I grew up listening to DMX. He was definitely part of my childhood. Love me some Rough Riders anthem. But it's been so long. I mean, honestly, probably since high school, the last time that I've listened to DMX. And I feel like in our culture, sometimes things can come off as insincere because when an event happens or a celebrity passes, everyone has some kind of op-ed or commentary or something to say. So when I first heard that he was in the hospital after a heart attack and the doctors were going to check his brain functionality, I just said a prayer for him. I asked God to give DMX and his family a miracle because I've been there. I've had family who have had serious brain injuries, who have been in vegetative states or declared brain dead. I just know how big of an issue this is. And unfortunately, as we all know, the Lord had other plans for DMX and he called him home. So again, with everything going on, I was reminiscing. I was listening to music, dancing, party up in here. I didn't feel like I wanted to post anything because, again, it's been so long since I listened to DMX. I don't think it's my place to come out and say, oh, here's a tribute to DMX, someone that I truly haven't followed since high school. But the other day I ran across a YouTube video because videos of him were surfacing everywhere, old interviews and of course his music. And this one said DMX's last video before his death. Now I figured it was probably clickbait, but because I have been reminiscing, I decided to click on it. This really stood out to me as I watched the video because DMX is just like sitting outside and he's talking about God and he's reading the word. And then at one point, he says, for those who don't know Jesus Christ and who are serious about giving their lives to him, he wants to walk them through the prayer to do that. And as I just sat there and watched him lead people through the sinner's prayer and lead people to salvation, I just thought, wow. I mean, we all know DMX has had a complicated life, a rough life, very rough childhood. He's experienced great success, but he also has gone through many struggles and experienced many hardships. And it just really stood out to me that God can truly use anyone to do anything as long as the person is willing. He can use someone like DMX who have had great experiences and significant lows to still bring people to Jesus Christ. He can use anyone, no matter the good they've done or the bad that they've done, no matter how high they've ascended or how low they have descended. God can truly use anyone for his glory. And I think DMX is an awesome example of that. The other thing watching the video made me think about was the familiar adage that we all know that says you will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Oftentimes that means no matter how big your house is, how fancy your car is, what brand of clothing you wear, or how many zeros are in your bank account, no title, no degree, no trophy or accolade, none of that you can carry with you or take with you once you die. But seeing DMX and how the news outlets have reported his death, as they often do for many celebrities, oh, troubled singer dies, or rapper with complicated history, rapper with legal issues, Oftentimes the media is going to focus on the celebrities' difficult past and not always highlight the good or the positive things that they accomplished. Or even if they do, they certainly gonna mix in the negative and the controversies. That's, of course, has happened with DMX. But seeing the last video of him and just thinking about his life, as complicated and complex as it was, it also made me think of that familiar adage: we won't see a U-Haul behind a hearse carrying all of our worldly possessions and our materialistic things. But for those who know Jesus Christ, DMX included, I'm thankful that you also won't see every lie we've said or lie that we've told, every mistake we've made, every sinful behavior or act that we've committed, every betrayal. If you know Jesus Christ, that is what truly matters. None of the good or the bad on this earth can outweigh the fact that you know Jesus Christ. And that's why I wrote this blog post. We can go back and forth on whether DMX was a prophet or whether he was a terrible guy who rapped misogynistic and violent lyrics. And a little bit of both, may be true or accurate. DMX had a really trying life, even with the successes that he had. But no matter what, because he knew Jesus Christ, that is what matters. His legacy, whether good or bad, however you want to call it, none of that is going to matter because he was saved. So as we continue to reflect on DMX and his life, I personally just want to make sure that we focus on the fact that no matter what he did, this man clearly knew and loved and represented Jesus. And honestly, I think that's what's most important. I purposely didn't watch any part of the Derek Chauvin trial. I truly had to protect my spirit with this one because I remember watching every day of the George Zimmerman trial when he was on trial for killing Trayvon Martin. I remember sitting there awaiting the verdict, holding my breath, and when I heard not guilty, just being in disbelief, my stomach curling, feeling like the life was sucked out of me. I remember my hand shaking as I was trying to turn off the TV, but I couldn't even see well because tears were just streaming down my face. I remember Darren Wilson not being indicted and getting out there when I lived in DC and protesting afterwards. I remember Philando Castile and Walter Scott and Sandra Bland and Freddie Gray Jr. and too many other names. I have remembered every single time an unarmed black man or black woman has been killed by the police or someone else unjustly. And it has felt awful every single time and traumatizing every single time. So yes, I decided I'm not watching this Chauvin trial. But on the day of the verdict, I was getting a lot of texts because, of course, they were talking about deploying the National Guard and people were kind of on edge. So for whatever reason, I'm not even sure, maybe a little slimmer of hope, I turned on the TV and I sat there as I watched them read the verdict. It's hard to put into words how I felt as I heard guilty, guilty, guilty on all accounts. On the one end, I certainly felt relieved that finally, a cop is going to be held accountable for his actions toward an unarmed black man and woman. Finally. But on the other hand, as I just sat there with mixed emotions, I began to realize I just felt deeply and immensely sorrowful. First of all, it's very difficult to fully enjoy justice when the taste is so foreign, or to fully enjoy justice and be able to fully celebrate it when you still have to be apprehensive about the completion of justice. Yes, most black folks have been like, this is great. Finally, police and law enforcement are held accountable for their actions. But we still have to wait for sentencing. We still have to see if the system is going to show that Black lives really do matter. And so just thinking about all this, again, it has really put a damper on my spirit. It's just made me feel extremely sorrowful for the state of our nation and of our world. I feel terrible that there was something inside of Derek Chauvin that made him think it was okay to keep his knee on that Black man's neck for almost 10 minutes and to keep it there as he lay there lifeless. Like, what is in you that is so evil or so distorted that makes you think that that's okay? That's hurtful to me. I feel saddened by the fact that people got to be on edge and they have to call the National Guard to multiple cities ahead of the verdict because we're so used to Black people not receiving justice and then having to get out into the street and protest and disrupt because of it. We shouldn't be used to that. That shouldn't be a norm. I feel awful that we have to say, oh, Gianna Floyd, your daddy changed the world. Her dad should be here. We shouldn't even have to say that to that little girl, or that to be something that she should be proud of because her father should have never been killed in the first place. And so I wrote this post after Chauvin got his verdict because it's just heartbreaking and it's exhausting and it's annoying that as Black Americans, we don't expect to receive justice. Honestly, it's just ridiculous at this point in 2021. And my prayer is that we'll get to the point in this nation where Black Americans don't have to sit there and hold their breaths and await a verdict to let us know if the judicial system and America as a nation truly believes that Black lives matter. It shouldn't take video evidence and protests for us to humanize Blackness and Black people. I haven't had time to write about this, but since it's happening in real time, I definitely wanted to speak on it. Since Derek Chauvin's trial and now verdict, there are reports that 6 people have been killed by police officers. And the Washington Post has reported that since in the last year, 985 people have been shot and killed by police officers. It's really disheartening to me that one of those shootings happened in my hometown of Columbus, Ohio. We all know that was the teenage girl, Ma'Khia Bryant. Of course, everything is still happening. We don't know all the facts and all the details of this case and a lot of the other ones that have happened, including the one last Friday of the man in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. I just want to pray for change. I pray that a lot of change can happen in our nation because it's showing that clearly we still aren't there and we have a lot more work to do. On the one hand, we think we got a little taste of justice and a step forward with Derek Chauvin, and then not even a full week later, you continue to see the same thing happen. And so I just pray that, again, there will be change, number one, in how we are policed and how the community is policed, especially and specifically Black people. I pray that officers will receive better training, be able to check their own biases when it comes to Black people and somehow this constant fear that they have of unarmed Black people, even though they're the ones that are armed. I pray that there would be training on the use of force because we all know time and time again, it has shown that cops have been able to apprehend white assailants and suspects without incident, but they're not able to do the same for some reason when it comes to Black people. I pray that there would be talks or forums, just times and intentional comings together to educate both sides on what both sides deal with. We need to know the dangers, the fears, the perspectives, the roles and duties of police officers and everything that they come up against in situations. We as a community need to understand this so we can understand their position. And the police officers need to understand our position as citizens, how we view them, why we view them this way, why our response is the way that it has been. So I pray that those talks, those types of forums, that type of education for both sides can happen. I also pray just for the families who have been affected by all of this. It's not only tragic for the world to see this happening again and again. It's not only traumatizing for the Black community, but think about the families, the people who are losing their daughters or their brothers or their uncles or their fathers or their mothers. So I just pray for comfort and for peace for the families. I pray for this nation that we can come to an agreement on guns to stop this gun violence. I pray for the leaders in this nation. And I just want to pray for all of those who have been out there, boots on the ground, organizing, protesting, educating, disrupting. It's hard work because I know I've been out there many, many times. And a lot of times the daily effort goes unseen by people. So I just want to continue to pray for those who are out there working hard to educate, to disrupt, to spread awareness about these issues, and who haven't let down, who are not just doing it when it's going viral, when it's all on social media, when it looks good, but who are out there consistently, and it's a part of their daily lives and daily routines. Big up to y'all, and I just pray for continued strength as we continue to push forward in this movement of equality. As always, thank you for hanging out with me and going over the latest Peculiar post. I just want to make sure you know that you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram. You can also go to the website, peculiaronpurpose.com, and subscribe to the monthly newsletter. And then if you're watching this, you already see that we're on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe, you like, and hit that bell so you can get the notification for next month's video. I'm Shayla, the writer behind Peculiar on Purpose. And again, I just thank you all for hanging out with me. Until the next video, stay safe, be blessed, and stay peculiar.